It was about a week after that horrible, terrible, dramatic, lively incident at the Prince's Ball when James and I teamed up on an investigation.
You're in the Dicey Cantina about a week after the attack on the Prince's Ball. Brack is at the bar pouring drinks for the patrons, the dock workers, and everyone who enjoys their time off here at the less than reputable bar at the end of the affluent Ealanwick city limits. In one corner, tucked away in a booth, is James and Ivy. Lockwood and Pickleson, you know, have been called away to the capital.
So why do you think they got called back to the capital? Or called to the capital? You're the capital person.
Oh, I thought they told you.
I think you're actually closer with them these days than I am.
Yeah. They let me use their balcony to make a garden. That's been fun. I don't know. It was really quick. His sister, what was her name?
I don't remember.
They were speaking, and I was on the terrace, so I didn't know. And then they were getting ready to go, so I didn't butt in. They didn't tell me. I don't know. What did you want us to talk about?
Well, hopefully they come back soon because I will also be leaving soon.
For what?
For research. Taking a boat. Destination unknown.
Well, that's exciting and mysterious.
It'll be an adventure.
Research without knowing where you're going. Can you tell me?
I literally don't know.
What are you researching?
You know what I'm researching.
All right.
But I thought we should meet up now because of what happened last week.
Yeah.
Those creatures, that man, we talked a little bit. You told me that that person was speaking the old tongue. I jotted down what I thought he said. I was hoping we might do a little research and find out more about it. See if we could translate.
So I'd only heard a little. One of my teachers, governess, when I was younger, would tell some stories from back then, and she knew a little bit, or there was a story that had like a poem from the old tongue that she would recite to us, but I don't know it. I just recognized it.
Who do you think would know it? It's obscure. I mean...
Also, before we start that, when are you leaving? Don't change the subject so fast. What's going on?
Don't worry about it. I'll write.
Okay, so tonight, tomorrow, next week?
I'm leaving tomorrow. My bags are packed and yeah.
You didn't say anything. Do they know?
No.
Have you said goodbye to people?
I don't like to say goodbye.
Of course. You're one of those. I understand. It's rough.
But I'll be back. I'll write and...
Well, your research topic sounds really interesting, so we would be really excited to hear what you learn about and what you find.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be an adventure.
Does Downing know?
Downing knows that I am traveling.
Okay, so he didn't send you on some school work or something?
No, he tried to get me posted at the university at the capital, but I declined.
I guess that makes sense. He's never really been about leaving the campus, has he?
No.
I've forgotten that, yes.
One campus or another.
Okay, well...
So many of those academics are just about comfort. Just researching the same things over and over and coming up with the same results over and over. I mean, it's one thing to verify your results, but it's another thing to discover new things, and that's what I want.
Who cares about being comfortable when you can learn new stuff out there?
It is certainly going to be uncomfortable.
Have you been on a ship before?
I have. It's not bad. I don't get seasick, that's good, but the food's generally not great.
I've heard.
Sailors are interesting company.
I've certainly enjoyed the ones around here. It's been an education.
You probably get a couple looks from around the bar as you say sailors are interesting company.
Off in the corner, there's some of our dock workers come in and interact with some of the sailors. There's a small tuffle in one of the corners and a couple errant darts go flying by.
It's been way more exciting than back home, that's for sure.
As James and Ivy are discussing the old tongue and kind of racking their brains of where to even start looking into that, it suddenly dawns on Ivy that the Old Tongue is spoken out west, potentially, or it comes from the far west.
Okay.
And Pickleson knows of at least one person who's returned from the far west. Not many people. It's not well-traveled out there. The far west is the wilderness. But in some excursions, Pickleson returned with one member from the far west whose name is Mortaleg.
So what I know about the old language is something about out west. That guy that Pickleson talks about, he came from, I think, out there. Do we know how to find him? I've only heard him talk about him a few times.
Who?
Penny. He has a friend or something, an acquaintance, that he's like this old man that came back to the city with him from the wild yonder. I haven't heard a whole lot, but that's the only person I can think of that's someone from far away that might be old enough to know. I wish he was home and we could ask him.
Interesting. Well, we should be able to find him. I mean, the city's not that big, is it? And we know some things about what Pickleson does when he's not hanging out with us.
Well, yeah, why don't you guys roll some history or lore for me?
I kind of want to have a warfare one because I feel like I might have overheard some stories in the apartment from his war life because that's what this is about, right?
Yeah.
All right. And I'll do myth if that works. Rolling an average check.
Average check.
Average myth.
And that means what colors?
2 purple.
Okay.
1 failure and 1 advantage. With my 2 yellows and 1 green against 2 purples.
Okay.
We know nothing.
I know nothing. That's a shame.
Oh, session's over.
And the story comes to a grinding halt. So for an advantage on a myth check, James doesn't know anything specifically about the Old Tongue or anything along those lines, but one of the reasons for going on this research expedition is to head further west because
Right.
the legends are more accepted out there, the mythology and things
Right.
along those lines. Ealanwick is very rigid and timed, and they don't have a lot of time for myth and legend. But because Ealanwick's nature to control what they don't understand, as many well-to-do empires might be inclined to do, if an expedition were to return with someone from the far west, person wouldn't necessarily be trusted, and so would have very limited access to the country. And you know that there is a big fortress that overlooks the bay and the harbor called the Timber Court Citadel.
Cool.
You've heard of guys being like stowed away there before.
So I don't know for sure. Pickleson has not told me about this person before, but if I know our country, and I think I do, they may have put him in the Timber Court Citadel.
Well, that sounds exciting. Want to do a little local last adventure before you leave?
Why not? You know, I might get some interesting insight from this Mortaleg fellow.
Be great to know what that speech was about.
It would be. I've got my notes. I could probably read this off and potentially sound like a fool doing so, but hopefully it means something to him.
Did you get the whole thing? Or did you just remember a little bit of it?
I remembered most of it, but it was all, I mean, it's a different language. It's tough. Lockwood and I put our heads together after the event and came up with what I think is a pretty accurate version of what was said.
Well, great. Let's go see what we can find out. How far is it?
It's not too far. It's right on the water.
Okay. We'll say Penwise sent us, maybe.
Do you know his reputation?
I just know him personally, but yeah, who knows?
Well, hopefully Penwise sent us is good enough.
And you guys down your drinks and head out of the cantina? It's perfectly timed as well, because as you go outside, you hear one of the typical afternoon bar brawls begin inside.
Poof. Starting early tonight.
Just in time.
It's the shift change. There's always a little bit of rivalry between the two shifts that come in here.
Taxi? Or do we ride bikes or something?
I rode my bike here.
Oh, perfect. Me too.
So you hop on your 2 bicycles and you make your way through town. Basically, you kind of follow the main avenue that heads around the bay. The opposite side of the bay comes up to a little bit of a hill, and that's where this old fortress stands.
Those towers, yells over his shoulder from his bike seat. Up ahead, that's where we're going.
Wow, it's beautiful and huge.
It's big.
I guess we just ride up to that front gate. Or is there a gate?
There's a large gate. It's a fortress. It was designed for warfare a century or 2 ago. It's been kept up to date, but piracy is not the problem that it was a little ways back. It still exists, but rarely do pirates enter the bay anymore. Ealanwick is a big enough town with a big enough standing army that it can feel pretty secure in all the trade it conducts. The citadel is almost castle-like, large castle-like, big ring stone walls. There's an open portcullis and a double gate. It's wide and open. And one thing that you guys noticed while you're riding your bike up to it is that while it's still an active fort, there is many people who take advantage of the fact that the courtyard is open, and there's a bit of a tourist industry here as well. It's not restricted for the courtyard and things along those lines. As you ride in, you do see the reason why it's called the Timber Court Citadel. In the center of the courtyard, there's a grassy knoll, and some people think they know the legends, but no one really knows for sure why several petrified stumps see themselves rooted into the ground, and a petrified wooden desk of sorts lays across. The reason it is called the Timber Court is because these petrified stones are arranged in such a way that an audience could be held. But it's been like that before anyone can remember. And the citadel itself, the defensive positioning of it, they built around this and gave it its fancy name.
So as we pull up our bikes, I think James would tell one of the stories about how they talked about an ancient king who held court here back before Ealanwick was Ealanwick, if you believe the stories.
An ancient king. But you specified they were petrified and they were stumps?
Yeah.
How high are they?
They're chair height.
So not giants.
Not giants.
How wide are they? Like pine tree?
Wide enough.
Benches or stools? Like long benches or individual stools?
Were they cut off or are they like jagged? I mean, petrified, that's old.
Yeah. So they look like they were felled trees.
Okay.
And the stumps were left. But for whatever reason, these tree stumps still rooted in the ground are petrified.
Okay.
The peculiarness of it is the reason why no one's ever given permission to dig it up or anything like that. Scholars have definitely looked into it, but they don't necessarily come up with any conclusive evidence. Some think that mud and soil once flooded the area and turned those stumps to stone.
So there are also stories of dryads, that this used to be where dryads held court and enemy courts came in and cut them off with the stump. But legends, nobody knows for sure. I think they do tours.
There's definitely a group like kind of milling about the chain.
Oh, man.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I don't want to.
I'm not sure I do. But if ghosts do exist, this place, I'm sure, has lots of them.
Oh, man. Definitely. That is why I don't want to.
Should we join a tour or should we talk to one of these guards?
Do you have time? I keep thinking you're about to leave like any minute.
Why don't you guys go on a tour?
Okay.
Tour it is.
Definitely. I'm so glad we have time for this.
Do you think we can sneak in or do we have to pay them?
Let's just walk up. You never know.
Just act like you belong here.
Yeah. Maybe it's a free tour.
Maybe it is. We walk up as if we belong there.
Someone's talking about something.
Yeah. There's a small tour group that is slowly walking around the big circle of the court specifically. You can meld into this group and you listen in.
I'm really excited to learn about those tree stumps because the dryads have always been so interesting.
I doubt this tour guide's going to say anything about dryads.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's just going to talk about architecture, isn't he?
It's architecture and kings and the navy.
So do you know more about the history? Can you tell me?
It's all just stories. I don't know what's actually true about the stones, at least. The tour guide's like, "Excuse me, who's leading this tour?"
I guess I'll be quieter. That was my favorite when we went on a big tour back at the Capitol with one of my professors. And there was tour guides, but my professor was really good at art history. And he knew all the really good stories, and I would just follow him around and listen to what he knew about the stuff. It was way better than the official tour guides. So if you want to be like that, I'll listen to your stories. They're usually more interesting what the locals know.
All right. So we're winging a Wander Home-esque. Let's make up some legends about the Timber Court.
Okay.
I'm going to use the castle, and I'm cheating by saying that there's 3 of us, and there are 3 options for folklore. So, who wants to tell the story of the Timber Court Citadel of the murdered brother, and who wants to take the ghost on the parapet, and then the last person will take the lost empire of the bricklayers?
Ghost.
Oh, you got the ghost? Okay, cool. I'll take the murder.
Was that the first thing or the last thing?
The murdered brother.
And who wants to go first? Do you want me to go first, or do you want to interject? You can be someone else and tell the story to your character if you wish.
Okay. So the ghost story is based on the first ancient king that reigned over this space. But it was the king, like, obviously, way before this actual building was built. We maybe historically know about some other things that were in this area before this building.
Maybe there was a fort made out of earth here.
Yeah.
Like an earthwork fort.
We're fortunate to have a pretty extensive history of this area. And they know that every iteration of whatever there's been here, there has been sightings of the same ghost of the first king who will not leave his domain. And the most recent architecture, obviously this big citadel, is that he is on that, what is basically the highest point or the best vantage point where he can see the most area. And everyone's pretty positive that that's where the first king is, because he's still surveying his land and walks back and forth up there. And then certain light, we see him.
That's a fun story, miss. Why won't the king leave?
That's a great question. What do you think?
I think it's because the king still thinks he owns all of the land and sea around here.
Oh, most definitely. Because he was the very first one to conquer this place, you could argue, is right about it being like his rightful place. He was the first one to come to this land.
Well, not the first one.
Oh, who was?
That's a story for a different crowd.
You better come back from that trip quick. I can't hold out for all these conversations that have to happen later.
Have you all heard the story about the murdered brother?
Oh.
This one's more recent. This is in the days when piracy was common along the coast.
Ooh.
One of the soldiers and his brother, they came to guard this citadel. They, for a long time, for their whole lives, they had argued about who was the better brother, who could take care of the family back home, and who would inherit the great riches that their parents had. One night, the soldiers heard a scream. They found one of these 2 brothers on the tallest parapet, up near probably where they see that king standing. And, well, the one brother was tried for murder. And anytime the mist rises on the sea these days, especially if there's a full moon, you can hear screams off the side of that parapet. But that's not even all of it. Later, they found out that the second brother maybe didn't do the crime.
Is he still alive?
No, but his ghost haunts this place too.
They're both here?
They're both here. They're stuck together forever. At least that's what they say.
I wonder if they fight with the king.
How did the other one die? If he was sentenced?
That's the other timber court.
Excuse me?
Huh?
Who's the tour guide here? Eyes up front. We were just about to tell you the reason for the timber court. There's ancient legend of the lost empire of bricklayers and stone makers. Back before there was ever a fort here, before kings and the world was ruled, there was a group of people renowned for taking the mud from the river and making bricks and stones and creating their own monuments. It's said here that these were never really trees, that they are sculptures made by this ancient people back when tribes were about, before there were anyone ruling any particular land. If you will observe, it's fine craftsmanship, but I'm sure that they've been sculpted this way, and they look great. Let's carry on. The tour guide has taken over with a much less cool story.
Yep. James raises an eyebrow at Ivy as the tour continues. Shakes his head.
He'll tell me later how it really happened.
Sure.
You're going to have a lot of letters to write.
So as the tour progresses on, you see that the Citadel is kind of divided. It is an active military base, and it is a place where tourists can come and visit. And you can see there's chains off some ropeways. There's a few guards here and there. And there's an entrance for making your way deeper into the Citadel. Presumably, this would be where one would find Mortaleg instead of about with the tour groups, able to freely come and go.
I think it's time to ditch the tour.
I'm going to go this way?
Yeah.
Down the...
Please stay as a group. Stay as a group.
Yep, we're staying as a group. Sneak, sneak, sneak.
Nothing, tra-la-la.
Can we do like a group stealth or something maybe?
I think you can get out of the tour group. But how would you like to go about getting past the guard there?
What did you say? It's like a tunnel? What did you call it?
Many of the passages into the Citadel they're arched stone, almost tunnel-like, because they're thick walls in between each of the layers.
So we think we have to go a place we're not allowed to go that's guarded to find this guy?
Probably.
I mean, it's just a kind of check-in gate for anybody coming to visit the military folk, but you do have to have a reason, we'll say. Or you can try and sneak by if you want, but that will be tough.
What do you think? Do you think it's more likely that we are here to visit a friend or just sneak through?
We could probably drop a name. How do you think Lockwood would feel about dropping the family name?
It's a good question. I could see it both ways.
Yeah, I could too. Well, I'm the one leaving town, so you should make the decision.
Thank you. Fair point. I don't care if he gets in trouble. That's not true. I do care. He can get out of it.
He can get out of pretty much anything, can't he?
He can. It's so amazing and annoying and impressive. I feel like, you're older. You talk to him.
Straightens his tweed jacket and walks up to the guard. Good day, sir. We're here to visit a friend. We believe they are here. Maybe you could guide us towards him.
The name of your friend?
It's Mortaleg. We're friends of the Lockwoods.
Oh, you're here to visit old Morty, huh?
Yes.
Who did you say you were with?
The Lockwoods? You know, Lockwood, his friend, his compatriot Pickleson.
And what business do they have with old Morty?
Oh, they're friends.
Well, Pickleson knows Morty, and we've got a message from Pickleson to Morty.
Oh.
He talks about him all the time.
Okay. You're here to deliver a message. All right. You were in luck. A visitation is today, so you guys can come inside. Because if you fail the roll, the story ends. But yeah.
I would like to roll something anyway.
Okay.
What does this person look like? What is the uniform of the Ealanwick Navy?
That's a good question. Do you have a suggestion? I haven't thought of it before. I can come up with something.
Olive green.
Olive green. Okay. And they've got, what are those things called?
Which things?
The shoulder thingies.
The shoulder tassels, obviously. I think their suits match the color of the stones that the place is made out of.
They've got gold epaulets on their shoulders and a fancy sash.
What color's the sash?
Red.
Of course. Do they have hats?
Oh, they're tallest hats.
They're tall.
The tallest.
Your uniform is quite nice. Is this tailored? He inspects it a little bit.
He slaps your hands away like immediately.
I'm sorry.
No touching the uniform.
Honestly, I like it. I think it's nice. No, it's okay. We'll just go in.
Thank you.
Follow the path. Stay out of the restricted areas.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Could we give him the little palm forward salute?
I wouldn't know. No, I guess I would know because of her dad what the right way to do things is.
Started out wanting to charm him, but he resisted my charm, so now I have to be sarcastic.
I mean, you can still try and charm him, but he does not appreciate having his uniform tugged on.
The hat was very tall.
It's a very tall hat. There's got to be a good nickname for the soldier people around these parts, but I don't know what it is.
Nutcrackers, because they're tough nuts to crack.
Right. Always wanted to try one of their hats on.
We'll get one. That's our new goal. Forget Mortal Egg. We're getting one of those hats. It's totally in character, by the way.
Probably behind one of the restricted areas, right?
Just a room full of hats.
I mean, I'm sure there's a quartermaster.
The laundry. I don't know. On-site tailor. Haberdashery. How do we know what a restricted area is? Is there like a ribbon or a sign?
It's a great question. What are we following? How do we know where we're going?
Because it's a like layered fort. You're kind of working your way from courtyard to courtyard, and there's an obvious cobblestone sidewalk that kind of takes you around each of the open areas. You don't see a good military base wouldn't necessarily leave the restricted areas unattended. So
it's the big sign that says restricted area.
There's a couple of big red signs that say no entry. There's chains, thick chains across the walkways and guards stationed at any of those.
So he just meant in general, don't go places that say don't go there. He was just being redundant. Okay.
It's the rule for visitors. Don't go there. If you go there, you might get arrested.
Oh, he didn't say that.
It was implied.
Did he tell us which direction to go to find Morty?
No,
he didn't, but it's kind of clear.
That way. Okay, let's go.
On the northwest end of the Citadel, as you work your way around, there's a large, wide tower. There are no signs that say do not enter. There are no chains on the door, but there is a guard standing at the front of the door.
I wonder why.
You see him politely tip his cap, his tall hat, as an older man in not Ealanwick attire goes in.
Goes into the tower?
Mm-hmm.
So he like turns away from us. We have to follow him.
It looked like he was out for a stroll and then went back inside.
I bet that's him.
Yeah, let's run. Gotta catch up to him.
He's so fast. How does he move so fast?
So we get up to the guard.
State your business.
That person who just went in, is that Morty?
Yeah. This is where old Morty stays.
We need to speak with him.
It's urgent.
Okay.
I like your hat.
Can we go in?
Thank you. Yes, you may go in. He kind of half steps in front of the door, kind of blocking your ability to go in, and he knocks on the big wooden door that's there and says, Morty, you got visitors.
Try to look really nice. Like someone might want to see me.
There's kind of a gruff, all right, side.
Oh, he sounds friendly.
So the door is opened and you can work your way inside.
Give that guy another palm forward salute. The way in.
Completely ignores it.
As expected.
They could at least acknowledge you.
So there's a spiral staircase kind of immediately as you come in that works its way around. It's not very tall and it's pretty wide. About half a story tall. You're not going all the way up or anything along those lines.
Oh, so it's only like 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah. So at the top of this spiral staircase. You can see that it continues on, but there's a large opening as well at this landing that's just 3 or 4 feet up. And inside you can see a large hearth with a fire in it to keep warm. A couple of the windows, they're arranged as a fort, so they're skinny and to be able to fire from, but they are a view out into the sea out of Kelly Brook. There's a table and a bed and a rocking chair. And inside in the rocking chair sits Mortarleg. Old Morty. He's an old man from the far west. He's got a loose white shirt, and he's got for lack of a better description, a kilt slung over his shoulder and around his waist. Some tall boots and stockings. And you can see just peeking out from underneath the long shirt, there's a deep blue design tattoo on the back of his hand that leads up his arm. And the pattern seems to continue on and come up his neck behind his ear. You can see it just beneath the large white beard that he has. And hearing you come in, that there are guests. So Mortarleg sees you come in and...
Penny, is that you?
No, sir. But we're friends with them.
Oh, you know Penny.
Hello.
You know that rascal left me here all by myself. You tell him the next time you see him, Mortarleg is looking for him. He'll know what that means.
Will do.
So, you're his friends?
Yes, sir.
Did you bring it then?
I'm sorry?
Did you bring it?
Him? What?
I can see that he hasn't told you that he owes me a wheel of cheese.
Oh.
I would have brought it if you told us.
Oh, he'd better not have forgotten again.
He may have.
Told him if he forgets again, he's gonna meet my stick upside his head.
Well, I won't forget, and I see him fairly often. I'll definitely remember to let him know and encourage him to come back soon. We're excited to meet you. I've heard a lot about you.
Huh. Well, I can't say the same.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot. Just, we hear when he comes to visit you sometimes. We were wondering, we came across a bit of the old tongue, and we don't know anyone locally that knows it. I used to know someone that did, but we wondered if maybe you know some of it.
What do you mean, the old tongue?
Oh, well, I hoped you would know, James.
Did you happen to hear about the incident about a week ago at the royal ball?
There have been some rumours, aye.
Some strange things happened, and one gentleman...
Wildman.
...dressed in wolf pelts spoke something that we were able to identify as what we know as the old tongue. I don't know if that's what you call it, but here, he shuffles through his bag. He has this like leather bag, that crossbody thing that he keeps with him all the time. He keeps all his papers and books and stuff in it. Goes through and pulls out a small sheet of paper. I'm gonna butcher this, but I can read it for you, and maybe it'll ring a bell.
Okay.
Show it to him.
I wrote it phonetically. I don't know how the language works. All right, here we go. Ta cosent kasor ag ti act hun dia de agas filvivsi tar riskent has ter skol ek madu hen. He winces. Bo has si or fahu o in mas card ad fastu. I think that last part was a question.
That's remarkably close to how I remember hearing it.
Is it?
That was really impressive, honestly.
I'm used to reading nonsense. So, did that mean anything to you?
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Foxglove Letters. We hope you've enjoyed the adventure so far and can't wait to see where the story goes. Before we go, we want to let you know that we love hearing from our listeners. If you have a question for our players, their characters, a comment on the story, or just want to say hello, drop us a line at diceycantina@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube at diceycantina for behind-the-scenes artwork and world building. Or if you just prefer to chat, join the Discord. Links to everything are in the show notes. If you're enjoying the show, please consider giving us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast platform, as it helps us grow the show and reach more listeners. The Foxglove Letters is a creation of Dicey Cantina, playing Genesis by Edge Studio. Until next time, dear listeners, don't forget the words of Mr. Cunningham when he said, "Don't just watch the world pass you by. Reach out and grab the stars."